Is it working? Time for a quick game theory video today. So, again, I had recently played. Remember, if you like these videos, like, sub, silly, comment, share, support the channel. If you do so, please hit the notification bell, whatever. So, I had recently played Karnovs Revenge recently for the first time, and I thought maybe it was a few years, but a dude commented on my channel it might have been 4 years. I feel like 4 years is too long, but I think it's been a few years since I've played the game. And I know someone had posted on Twitter that I played them this summer, but it wasn't me. I guess someone was pretending to be me, but whatever the case. So I was thinking about Karnovs Revenge. And again, Karnovs Revenge is a game that kind of runs that fine line of being really scrub-a-dub, but deceptively skillful. You know, it's kind of a bit of an iffy game sometimes. But I was thinking, is there anything legitimately, though? Does Karnovs Revenge as a game do anything legitimately that I think it does better than another fighting game per se? And I was thinking, you know what Karnovs Revenge might do better than other games? Or at least there's an idea, a foundation that could have been built upon. And I think that is the idea of secret moves. And Karnovs Revenge are potentially really awesome, right? And again, I know I've used the example of Mizoguchi's blue DP because I think that is serendipitously one of the most amazing moves in fighting game history, right? Serendipitously, maybe it wasn't meant to be that good, but in terms of how it is, because if you think about Mizoguchi, you think about, and again, context is king here. If you were to just look at his DP from a normal kind of, at face value fighting game perspective, his DP looks broken. But in the context of the game, his DP is actually kind of shit, right? It's got a little bit of that clusterfucky scrubbiness that, you can hit 3 times, so it benefits from the game system in one way. But then if you compare it to other DPs, it's like the least invincible DP in the game. You know what I mean? The DP that actually can cause that kind of, like random scrubby factor is the most punishable like DP in the game. You know what I mean? So it's kind of iffy, but then serendipitously, you look at the blue DP, the secret DP, and it's like, wow, the blue DP hits the hard to hit dizzy spots. It's somehow now the most invincible DP in the game, but it's also the one DP in the game that you can jiggy out of and duck. Besides, then, again, so many caveats here, a character like Zazzy, Mastorius, and Jean. And Zazzy is interesting because, Zazzy is one of the most scrubbed-up characters ever in fighting game history. But it just so happens that Zazzy, again, maybe it was on purpose, but serendipitously, he cannot jiggy and duck out of Mizoguchi's DP. So if he actually gets hit by the blue one, he actually gets hit. So it adds a bit of a coin flip kind of thing. Another layer to the game, which is interesting. So I think secret moves in Karnovs Revenge are actually pretty fucking interesting, right? And there's another caveat I want to get. I want to talk a little bit more about this. So you think about his big tiger bazooka, whatever. Again, Mizoguchi's secret moves have clear strengths and weaknesses. And they're kind of once in a blue moon thing. And there somehow is actually a lot of thought in them. Again, did they mistakenly? Was it like Jurassic Park and nature found a way that made them interesting? Who knows? You think about a character like Ray. The dynamite tackle is actually super interesting. You take a character who normally doesn't do a lot of damage, but the dynamite tackle takes a lot more execution than a regular tackle. But boom, if you can do dynamite tackle consistently, Ray does decent damage. Again, there's an interesting factor here, I think, in the potential for secret moves in Karnovs Revenge that could have been applied to other games, maybe, perhaps. But one of the reasons I made this video, or I wanted to make this video, is because it also brings up another point, right? And that is that about talking about how execution matters in games, right? So if we were to think about Mizoguchi's secret moves, they take 4 buttons, blue DP and the big tiger bazooka, right? Those are once in a blue moon moves, right? They're not moves that are used consistently throughout the match whatsoever, right? So again, I've said this before, when you look back on the history of video games, right? Macros and all that kind of stuff, one button kind of shit, those were put in video games as sort of a Ah, fuck, my English is about to fail me, isn't it? As a courtesy. I forget my English all the time. As a courtesy to pad players, right? But if we were to look at Karnovs' Revenge, if we were to look at some of the secret moves, let's look at some of the inevitably better characters. A character like Zazzy, one of the scrubbiest characters ever created in a fighting game. Jean, you know what I mean? Their secret moves, the 4-button things, whatever, they are consistently doing that throughout a match, right? They're not like a once-in-a-blue-moon thing, like a Mizoguchi thing, right? They are a clear-cut, very important thing to be able to do to hit 4 buttons. And when you take in to allowing everyone to macro, those are characters especially that stick out, you know, that are not characters that you should be allowed to macro for. Scrub-a-dub characters that their 4-button move, when you can't miss it, when it's a move that you are consistently doing, there's almost no reason to never not do it, right? The move is just so absurdly powerful. Those are moves that the idea of when you think about a courtesy to pad players, they don't logically make sense in a game like Karnovs' Revenge because they're just too powerful. Again, I guess you have to play Karnovs' Revenge to know what I'm talking about. There has to be that chance of missing it. And even if, yeah, Jesus fucking Christ, it's still fucking, they're fucking bonkers, right? You know what I mean? So I just felt like because Karnovs' Revenge is an interesting game because I was thinking, you know, it's kind of a random game, you know what I mean, in the grand scheme of video games. Again, I think it has some interesting characters. Mizoguchi and Karnovs specifically are two of the most interesting characters, I think, in fighting game history. Still interesting characters when you look at them through, you know, rose-colored glasses, whatever. Even all these years later, they're still very interesting characters in the grand scheme of fighting games. But again, kind of a clusterfucky game, kind of a scrub-a-dub game. But I was thinking, is there stuff that the game legitimately does well, potentially, that other games don't? And I would say that is secret moves. The idea of secret moves in Karnovs' Revenge is actually very interesting. I guess Elec has an interesting move too, right? Very awkward commands, right? You know what I mean? But very potentially powerful, right? But, and then again, as I mentioned, it also is a good example of how the courtesy to pad players in a game like Karnovs' Revenge does not make sense for some of these characters because the moves are too inherently powerful for these characters for what they are when there's no chance of missing them, right? Again, I guess if you were to think about, oh, well, we just allow everyone to macro nowadays, how would you even weaken a move like Jean's 100 hand slap, Zazzy's bitch slap, whatever? I don't even know. I guess you'd have to do something like if they're ever hit out of the move, they automatically take a dizzy hit no matter what. You know what I mean? You'd have to think of a way to weaken it, you know, for sure, because the secret move version, you know, they're just too powerful when there's no chance to miss it. And, you know, that's something I often talk about when we're talking about macroing and everything. Macroing has gone from something that was a courtesy to pad players to people not realizing games like Guilty Gear and all that kind of stuff, being able to press 2 buttons, 3 buttons consistently. This is not a once in a blue moon thing. This is an actual execution skill that you are consistently doing throughout the match, right? There is no like, oh, I'm going to FD once in the match. I'm never going to do it. You know what I mean? Give me a freebie. Oh, I'm gonna RC once in a match. It's never going to. No, like FRC, RC, FD, all this kind of stuff. These are clear-cut skills in the game. And I even think it's even more funny because, again, and I use this example, you have people that complain that there were too many buttons in video games. Oh, there's 6 buttons in Street Fighter. That's too many. Give me 4 buttons like Guilty Gear. Oh, well, I can't press 2 buttons. Let me use these other 2 buttons on the controller for the FD and the RC. Do you see the hypocrisy in that? You just said there were too many buttons. 6 buttons was too much, so you wanted 4 buttons. Well, if you have less buttons, ultimately there's going to have to be moves that you press 2 buttons for. Oh, well, if that's the case, give me back these other 2 buttons so I can have 6 buttons. You just told me 6 buttons was too much. I always feel like that argument you can't even argue with. It's just... right? Anyway. Remember, if you like these videos, like, subscribe, comment, share, support the channel if you want to. I appreciate it. Thanks.